What's up, YouTube? Brad Hoover from Rants here. As always, guys, if y'all enjoy our content here on Rants like, subscribe, and leave that comment down below. All right, so season 4 of Yellowstone is finally passed, and I'll admit I'm a little bit, well, more than a little bit disappointed by the outcome of just really this entire season. I found myself more interested with the Jimmy story in the 4 6s than I was actually about the Yellowstone story. Now, season 3 ended with a bang, a literal bang. Beth getting, supposedly blown up, and of course, gunmen after Casey and John. Um, it made it was of no surprise, I guess you could say, that all of them survived. But I thought it was an interesting take that they picked it up at the beginning of this season. And I thought that was one of the better moments of this season. But I'll just go ahead and I'll just start off with John Dutton. John Dutton's character this season, I feel like for the first 3 seasons, it was all about him protecting the land. Feel like that's where the Duttons are at their best, is when they have someone to fight when it comes to the land. When it comes to all of these politics and the things along it, the guy in prison that was ended up making the call to kill them, all of the setup that kind of goes around that, I felt like was just wasted. Um, of course, the whole Jamie connection when it come to all that, I felt like was wasted opportunities. If you really wanted something, if you really truly wanted something that really stung, was have Jamie be the guy that ordered the killings. Have him, if you want him, if you truly, Yellowstone, want him to be the villain, the main villain, you have to make him a villain not out of cowardice, but out of want, out of need to be. And I feel like they're not doing a very good job in that aspect. And I feel like John Dutton, basically taking the dream of a son he says he loves by trying to run against him, I felt like is just cruel in a lot of different ways. It would I understand the aspect of it, but I don't understand the the way it was about, like the lack of explanation, the lack of conversations between the two this season. I can't even remember if they had more than, well, that one conversation with each other throughout the entire season. And I felt like that was needed. That was more needed. More Casey and Jamie was needed also, I felt like. Um, but as far as John's obsession with this summer, that story was idiotic. It was completely and totally idiotic, useless, pointless, wasted more time in episodes than any other bad storyline that has been in this show. And I don't say that very often because I do feel like a lot of the storylines in this show actually go somewhere. Now, I have my complaints about Monica Dutton and Casey Dutton's relationship. I felt like in prior seasons, that was wasted moments in episodes. But I felt like when it come to John and Summer's relationship, she is not someone that really is in a relationship with him. She's not someone that adds depth to the story. She's not one that would be an interesting character moving forward. So what is she there for exactly? That is my biggest complaint when it comes to that. So I feel like John Dutton's story went literally nowhere in this season. Not towards Jamie, not towards Beth. The only thing that he showed in this episode is his relationship with Beth can be on the rocks. Where before it felt like he kind of gave her passes that he didn't necessarily give Jamie or Casey. Um, this season shows that he cares more about Summer to a certain degree than he cares about Beth. In that he's willing to just destroy his relationship with his daughter to be with this woman that he's not even technically with in the first place. And he tries to say it's out of some kind of moral grounds, but he's never showed those moral grounds before in the past, so I don't know why start now. There's always something hidden beneath the surface. Garrett, Jamie's father, is completely and totally right about the Duttons in that way. There's always something hidden beneath the surface. At least with most of them. Casey, I don't feel necessarily that way. Now, as far as Beth and Rip, um, Beth is one of my favorite characters on this show. I think in really the first two seasons especially, I thought her character was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. By far my favorite character on the show. Then in season three, they brought in the whole hysterectomy and abortion storyline when it come to Jamie. And then they kind of, to me, I always felt like that was an unnecessary story. I felt like that was a story that just kind of come out of nowheres. We had thought she had hated Jamie because she thought he was a snake in the grass. That things that he had done to her father in the past, believing he was an outsider and that he wasn't one of them. That is what they made the first two seasons about with her. Then all of a sudden they drop this bomb when it comes to, well, she really hates him because he ended up allowing her to have a forced hysterectomy when he was supposed to be helping her get an abortion. I'll tell you this, when it comes to that storyline, just in general, between Rip and Beth, I thought that one was just completely handled in the wrongest of directions. And I'll tell you the reason why is because in season three, there was she kept hinting that there was going to be this big moment where she was going to have to tell Rip, and Rip was going to have to make the decision about whether or not he wanted to be with her after knowing what she had done and what had happened, um, or leaving. And instead, in the season four finale, she completely turned that one upside down and was used it against Jamie, telling Jamie that once I tell him and he finds out, he's not going to be mad at me. He's going to be mad at you and he's going to come for you. I felt like that ruined that whole setup because that setup was really, I thought, and still think is the best way to set it up is to have it between maybe a breakage of that relationship due to her holding this big secret. Now, whether he would break up with her over that, probably not in the very end. But at the end of the day, there would be that storyline that revolves around that situation. We never got, well, we haven't got to see that situation in season four at all. And then she feels like maybe she's kind of turned it around where it's not going to be a conflict between her and him, but instead a conflict between Rip and Jamie. And I just don't like necessarily where that route went. Now, as far as Beth as a mother in this, I enjoyed the beginnings of that family feeling, with that, what was his name? What was his name? Um, Ah man, Carter. Carter. I enjoyed Carter's introduction on this show. I thought, man, this is going to really bring Rip, Beth, and Carter together. Um, but in the all throughout this season, it's like they started off big with it, where she was wanting a relationship with him, and then it felt like Rip kind of took to the boy a little bit, and then she just has done completely a 180 on it. She really wants nothing to do with the boy. She doesn't want the boy to call her mom, but she wants to have the boy there. She doesn't, and then she kind of threatens the boy of, well, if you do bad, we can always just send you off. Um, or if you do something that I don't like, well, you can be sleeping in the barn or something. All of these things that is just absolutely horrific. If you really think about it, I think about it from a parent perspective. In that, to do a little boy this way, to put him in, he's already had a drug addicted father, a mother that's passed away, and then he wants to, and then she's adding all this extra turmoil to his life while pretending to be this person that is also trying to be his friend and helpful is I didn't think a very good look on Beth. Now I enjoyed that Rip turned around on it, um, and actually is becoming more of a father figure. But if Beth isn't a part of that, then Rip's whole characterization of becoming Carter's father um, is pointless. It's really a pointless storyline at that. If it continues going in this direction, Beth's one-liners are getting annoying too. I want her there in the scenes for something other than one-liners. I want to see her in a scene with Jamie where he isn't cowering to her or she's not making a threat of murdering him. I want those scenes. I want a realistic scene. I want a scene where that she goes in there and she doesn't just try to dominate somebody, but actually go in there and just tries to, I don't know, be a human being for once. Now we've got to see a little bit of that when she actually, broke down and cried when her father got on to her. But man, she's been heartless by telling that Carter that, don't call her mother, lying to Rip all of this time, really trying to ruin this Summer's life, all because she's sleeping with her father. All of these different things just made her into to me, a really bad character on this show. And then doing what she did to Jamie. And I'll get to that a little bit later when I'm talking about Jamie, but I felt like that was not the direction that they needed to go by forcing Jamie to have to make a decision that really just destroyed him or any chances of him as reconciling with the Duttons by any stretch of the imagination. But anyways, let's get into Jamie Dutton. Um, Jamie's character on this show, I always thought, when it come to seasons 1, 2, and towards, well, I'll say 1 and 2, I thought Jamie is going to show some progression. He's going to eventually turn into the man that John expects him to be. He's eventually going to stand up to Beth. He's eventually going to show that he is capable of being a man. I thought that moment had come when he found out the woman he got pregnant was having their baby. I thought that was going to be the moment where he completely changed. And then his father shows up, and I thought again, this is going to be a moment where he changes. But then we find out at the end of season 4 that he's still just the big coward that he was in all the other seasons before it. No growth, not even to the point. I get it now. They're not going to do a redemption arc for him. That's very clear. But there's also no growth in his character in a lot of different ways, and that's incredibly disappointing because I don't like this cowering Jamie. I've seen it for 4 seasons. I want to see something different. Um, Now I will say this: what Beth made him do, and then the blackmail that she brought upon him, really was cruel and inhumane in a lot of different ways. And if there was really truly something that I felt like John should have got pissed at her about and threatened her about kicking her out, wasn't the Summer part, but the part where she forced Jamie to kill his own father. That's the saddest moment. That's a moment that would have really been heartfelt, where you see John, who didn't like Garrett, but and thought of Garrett as maybe a possible threat, which Garrett actually was because Garrett had been tried to kill him. But the fact that um, it's still Jamie's father and making Jamie do such a horrendous thing, I thought that would be been a really cool way for John to kind of have maybe a temporary split with Beth in that. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen either. Um, but anyways, so Casey and Monica Dutton. Now, I made no bones about it. Monica is my least favorite person on this show. I've hated her character since the very beginning. They tried to bring in all this racism stuff and really her just kind of hating her husband because he's white. I don't really quite understand why she sometimes acts like she hates her husband. It all seems to come back to her heritage and his father owning a ranch that she believes actually is her people's. That's really all it kind of comes down to. The reason why they have kept Monica and Casey as a couple, I have literally no clue. But Casey is a really interesting character. Really interesting character. A fun character. Probably one of the clearest motivated characters in all of Yellowstone. You know what Casey's thinking. You know what he wants. He wants a relationship with his family. He wants a relationship with his extended family. He wants to be a part of his wife's heritage. He wants his son to have a relationship with his with John Dutton. There's those are very clear aspects of who Casey is. And I thought for the most part they did a really good job with him this season. I enjoyed him, his and Monica's relationship a lot better this season. A lot less drama, a lot more connecting, and a lot more not really kind of them going in separate directions. There were some moments between him and Monica. Monica saying that she absolutely hated him and she when she wanted to leave and all of that stuff. I kind of feel like sometime in the near future there needs to be a breaking point for Casey when it comes to Monica, and where that she needs to make a choice of whether or not she cares more about really where she's from, or if she cares about her family. I feel like that is um, quintessential in her growth. But as far as Casey's the ending of season 4, him going on that spiritual tour um, was just a waste in a lot of ways. I mean, it was boring. It didn't go anywhere. We got to find out where he says, "Well, this wolf told me that this he showed me that there's going to be an end of us." Now, was he meaning an end to him and Monica, as in their relationship, or did he mean an end to the Duttons? That's yet to be seen. Um, so, I mean, if there's anything that kind of goes over to season 5, a question mark, that's it of where they're wanting to go. But as far as Casey goes, I wish that he was more of. I wish that he was closer to his father in this show, and maybe a protege of his father, somebody that his father could lean on a lot more instead of it always just being Rip. I kind of enjoyed that dynamic when he was to take over the ranch, but all of that kind of just fell apart in season 4. I mean, just fell apart. Um, and there was no conflict. There was no between John and him about it or anything. I kind of felt like that was maybe a wasted moment as well. But yeah, overall, I mean, there was no Thomas Rainwater story really at all when it come to this season. Um, uh, the Walker fight with Lloyd was, I don't know, maybe interesting for a couple episodes there. Um, I will say probably the part that I enjoyed the most was Jimmy's. I enjoyed his storyline. I really truly did, and I hope if they make a 4/6 series, I hope he's the main character. He really turned into a memorable character, someone that I really could see as the main star of a show, which was something that I didn't see before. But I really enjoy the aspect of his characters. I enjoy him being in Texas away from Yellowstone. I just like the kind of no drama aspect of that show. Just where they're just out cowboying. He's learning to be a man, he's learning to be a cowboy. He's coming into his own. He's gaining confidence. That is a character growth. See, that's a character growth that I wanted from that I want from Beth, that I want from Jamie. I want those character growths, and I feel like we don't get them too often. And I feel like with Jimmy, at least we got a gigantic leap in who he is as a man, and I thought that was pretty well. It was done pretty well. But overall, I mean, season four, I enjoyed aspects of it, but the overall take of it, I kind of feel like was um, a waste. I liked the wedding with Rip and Beth. I thought that was done perfectly. I enjoyed the Lloyd Walker confrontation. That was also very interesting. I enjoyed the family dynamic while it was there with Beth, Rip, and their son in this. But I did not enjoy the way Beth necessarily handled it, especially in the end when she told that boy not to call her his mother, when Rip is trying to be a father like figure to this boy. You either want it or you don't, but you don't just treat the little boy like this. I don't like that aspect of it. Like, you can treat all these other grown ups the way you want to, but to do a really conflicted boy that way, very cruel, very mean. And if she didn't like it done to her, she shouldn't do it to other people. That's the way I feel towards it. So I didn't like them making her more into a villain like character that's just there for the one liners and to threaten Jamie. That's it. But overall, guys, let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What did you think of season four? What did you think of the finale? Let me know. And as always, thanks for watching. Y'all take care.